Merry Christmas, everyone. Welcome in. It is a Clippers Talk Live. I told you it's 7 days a week. If I'm doing it on Christmas Day, you know it's for real now. I appreciate anyone who wants to join me on Christmas Day. And if you got time to get away from your family and loved ones for a second and check out Clippers Talk, I will try to make it worth your while. But I do want you to enjoy yourself. And the Clippers don't play today. Um, the day off for us. So they're playing on Friday against the Golden State Warriors. And we're going to discuss, because Kawhi is out for that game, we already know that. I'll play the audio coming up in a little bit from Law Murray of The Athletic, because I had him on pregame on Monday when they won in Memphis, 114-110. We'll play that audio and get the update from Law Murray on this. But we're going to talk about what Kawhi could look like when he does return. That will be the main focus of today's show, as a lot of Merry Christmas messages are coming in here. Elijah, Merry Christmas. Bonesaw is ready. Merry Christmas, Bonesaw. J Bose 84, Merry Christmas. JMI 1324, my guy, Merry Christmas. J Dog 777 says Merry Christmas. Big Dog Adam, Merry Christmas. Alan, Merry Xmas to you. Oh, thank you, Elijah. I appreciate the Christmas gifts. I'm cleaning up today. Alan, oh, good to see me indoors rather than my car. That's funny. Jay said, rocking my City Edition Clips T-Man jersey. Nice. Thank you, Mrs. Santa Claus. LOL. Merry Christmas, y'all. Let's go, Clippers. Merry Christmas, you filthy animals. Hip to Clip is in here. Good to see you. Lloyd Christmas is in here, apparently. I see his avatar there. Good to be with you guys. I do, not to get too mushy, like the mush, but I do consider the Adams family and people in the chat here an extension of the fam. You guys mean a lot to me. I do want to say that. I appreciate you all. I've only been doing this for about 3 months here on the YouTube side, and I really enjoyed it. Despite I know sometimes I go crazy in here, it's mostly all for effect. It's a show. Trying to make it as entertaining as possible for you. Even if you hate me, some people seem to keep showing up here regardless. And that's kind of the point. I'm not trying to be Stephen A. Smith or anything, or being so polarizing that, love or hate me, you have to watch. But I got to do what I believe in here and try to make it a regular part of your viewing experience every day here on Clippers Talk. And you guys do mean a lot to me. It's been a lot of fun the last 3 months. I don't know if I've said that enough, but all you need to know is I haven't missed a day doing this. I don't have to do this every day. I committed to doing it, and I enjoy doing it. There has not been really one time, strangely enough, that I've felt like, oh, this is a drag. I don't want to have to do a Clippers Talk today. Why did I sign up for this? Why am I trying to extend my brand onto YouTube? I haven't had a day like that on here. I really haven't. It has been a lot of fun. Even when people get mad at me last night, Quentin was in here, Triple J was in here. Somebody else was upset with me, or people disagree about stuff, and they think I'm being a know-it-all. Even in those times, I'm good with it. I love it all. It's fun. It's fun to me. So really appreciate you guys. Just want you to know that. I guess Christmas would be a time to, if it's not Thanksgiving, to show some gratitude. Be thankful. J-Dog said, woke up to my red Amir jersey this morning. Nice. That is a score. If you guys want to send any of these pictures at FollowAdamA on X, I put out the Christmas Clipper stocking that I got, which is you don't always think of a stocking as a gift in itself, but this one is. If you guys saw that at Follow Anime on X, it's the old school Clippers logo, and that was my stocking. Everybody else had, a normal red stocking, and I got this badass Clipper stocking. Yawning Tears is celebrating here. J Dog said Pops came in clutch. 3 dozen said Merry Christmas, Clipper Nation. Elijah said, you mean a lot to us. We never had a full-time content creator going as ham as you. Ham in the paint. I'm there for you, Elijah. I'll keep it going as long as I can. J Dog said, Clip Gang, I love you all. You guys support the same team as me. Automatically, fam. That's the type of love we need today. JP9 said, Merry Christmas, Adam. You guys were on the nice list. You're getting some good Clippers gifts. Bonesaw said, all right, let's get these trade talks going. No, please, God. This is not supposed to turn into a trade talk stream every time, and recently it's felt like that. Elijah said, I don't always watch you live, but I always watch the streams after when I get home. Appreciate that. The other reason, I mean, it couldn't be more plain and simple than this. Like, I don't have to go live. I could just record and then post these afterwards, but I love talking to you guys, regardless of where you steered the conversation and how productive I think some of the comments are. That can vary, but I just enjoy going live. You never know what's going to happen. You never know who's going to be here, what people are going to say. Maybe it's just my radio background. There's certain amount of exhilaration when you're live, when anything can happen. So if you need any more confirmation that I enjoy doing these, there it is. J Dog responded to Jay saying his dad's favorite Clipper player is Amir Coffey. That's cool. Ryan Garcia, hi my friend. Cheers, y'all. Still trying to wake up and need some caffeine, so Diet Dr. Pepper it is. All right, I thought I'd start off by reviewing some of the comments we got because a lot of people effed with last night's show heavy, as the kids say. Sorry, I'm surrounded by a lot of kids at my cousin's house, so not that they speak like that. But people were interested in the Collin Sexton conversation, and we're kind of all over the place with their opinion on whether or not the Clippers should bring in Collin Sexton. That was discussed in last night's Christmas Eve show in the live section if you want to check it out. As more people are getting in here. Yanni and Tears said, you hear about Jimmy Butler. Can he be had cheap or still bid up? Would we want him? I'll talk about that in a second here. 3 dozen said, watching the Polar Express this Christmas morning. Right on. Mechanic said, Merry Christmas to you, Adam, and the Adams family. Merry Christmas. I know Netflix has a couple of NFL games. I think Noah Eagle's on the call for one, so I definitely am going to be watching that today. And some NBA basketball. We'll be rooting for the Golden State Warriors later tonight while rooting against them on Friday because tonight they're playing the Lakers. Friday they're taking on the Clippers into a dome. That's the Clippers' next game. Maybe I'll bring in my cousin, Big Mike. If you guys remember, I should pull the video of this, but I was trolling Big Mike live on the air because he's a big Golden State Warriors fan. And he was talking a ton of trash that second game leading into that second game against the Clippers because he thought it was a fluke. The Clippers won the first game against Golden State this season. And then they beat him again. And so I was texting him and showing you guys the screen as it was happening from Intuit Dome. And now I'm staying in his place for Christmas. So it might be fun to have maybe a special guest appearance from Big Mike, who was talking all that S. And he will do so again, I'm sure. before the game coming on Friday, but he's been humbled a little bit because the Golden State Warriors aren't looking like the championship contender he thought they were after the first couple of weeks of the season. I told him to slow his roll, live and learn. Yes, I am. I'm like that, even with actual family members. So if I go to yesterday's show and check out some of the comments in here, they're varied with how people feel about Collin Sexton. I'm kind of surprised by some of them. So I want to respond to a couple of them. Robert Bryant said this about Collin Sexton, if the Clippers should get him. Granted, it's not too much for an energy player off the bench if he is that. My concern is that the salary will constrain any further moves, i.e. the buyout, when they may be able to secure a legitimate playmaker if KPJ doesn't get over the yips. Happy holidays, by the way. Happy holidays, Robert Bryant, 7874. Here's the thing with Collin Sexton. His contract is up the summer of 2026 when guys are available. We've talked about NBA free agents and big moves the Clippers could make a couple of years from now. So we know they're looking for a big reload in a couple of years. We know that's the case. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Luka Doncic, both those guys could be available summer of 2026. Maybe they're both an extreme long shot. Why would SGA leave? It's a great situation in OKC. They traded for him. He's tight-knit with all those guys. But maybe he wins a championship before then. And then in the next 2 years, and he feels like he just wants a change of scenery or finish what he started coming back to the Clippers. I don't know if he has, bad feelings about that with the front office trading him. Luka Doncic also might want to go somewhere else if he feels like they hit their ceiling in Dallas and they went all in with Kyrie Irving and the roster construction just doesn't work. They can only get so far. You never know. So my point is, I don't think Collin Sexton is a problem in that area because his contract is $18 million this year, $19 million next season. So he's going to be off the books relatively soon. And the summer of 2026, he's an unrestricted free agent, Collin Sexton. Therefore, at the same time, when guys like SGA and Luka Doncic could become available, when there's that big summer where big moves could be made, he's not going to be on the books and taking up cap room. So I'm not so concerned about that. Somebody else said DH Pat 805 in response to the Collin Sexton episode last night on YouTube, said T-Man will make up for any negative starts with a strong ending. Better to end well. Okay, so he doesn't want to give up on Terrence Mann. I understand that if he's one of the guys that gets traded in a deal for somebody like Collin Sexton. And it's fair. Terrence Mann has come on strong to end seasons. And I certainly don't want to see Terrence Mann traded. I'm just saying he's one of their better assets. It's possible that he could be used in a trade, even for someone like Collin Sexton. And I would definitely consider that because Sexton offers a different skill set than Terrence Mann. And they have guys that do what Terrence Mann does now. When you bring in Chris Dunn, when you bring in Nico Batum and DJ this offseason, they still have Amir Coffey. There's a lot of crossover skill set between those guys. Dopey G said, we don't need Sexton, who's a starter, by the way. You will destroy the chemistry. We need Kawhi healthy, and then we should play at least 20 times or 20 games to see how it goes. KPJ is still the more talented player. No need to hurry. Was Lou Will the defender we want? Please, let's enjoy the ride. So let me pick this apart. Dopey G said, we don't need Sexton, who's a starter, by the way. He's a starter currently with the Utah Jazz. He's a starter because he's on a bad team. I'm not saying he can't start for a decent team in this league. He has averaged 24 points per game for the Cleveland Cavaliers. They weren't great at that time, but they had some decent years. I want to say Collin Sexton Right before he tore his ACL that season, he was averaging 24 points per game. Like, this is a different level of player than I think some people realize with where his trajectory was at that time. An efficient 24 points per game, by the way, during the 2021 season. Let's see what the Cleveland Cavaliers record was then. Record by year. I don't think it was great during 2021. 22-50. So it was on a losing team, you could say. The next season, they go 44-38, but he ended up only playing 11 games. That's when he tore the ACL. Then he gets traded for Donovan Mitchell, and he's been on a bad team since then. So, sure, you can make the argument he hasn't done it in a winning situation. That is fair to say. That is understandable. But I do think there is a decently high ceiling with Collin Sexton. And I don't think he needs to be a starter. I don't think at this point in his career, and he's still young, he's 25, 26, I don't think that he's expecting to start or he would make a fuss over coming off the bench. He might know that on a championship contender, he's a six-man type. Dopey G also said you will destroy the chemistry. Nobody knows what will happen with the chemistry if they make a move for somebody. You can make the argument the guys are so tight-knit right now. Things are going so well. Any move could hurt the chemistry. Okay. I'll accept that. But this team has been pretty good over the years with bringing in new guys and continuing to have an identity of playing hard, of being the comeback Clips. They have the most 20-point comebacks over the last 5-6 years, like with different guys on the roster. I don't think Collin Sexton would destroy the chemistry. He's never been known as a locker room cancer or anything like that. There's no issue there. So he also said KPJ is still the more talented player. No need to hurry. I don't know if KPJ is a more talented player than Collin Sexton. Again, Sexton has averaged 24 points per game on a bad team. KPJ has averaged 19 points per game on a bad team, but Collin Sexton was doing it in a much more efficient fashion. And he has a more defined role as a player in this league. You have a better idea of who he is and who he can be, I think. He is a quick guard, downhill, plays with pace, and I think he's more comfortable with knowing who he is and how he has to play to succeed in this league than KPJ, who's more of an experiment right now, who is taking more inefficient shots, mid-range shots, hasn't been a good three-point shooter this season. He was on catch-and-shoot threes in Houston the last 2 years, but he's not taking many of those as a Clipper. Three-point shooting has come around as of late. We'll see if it holds. Collin Sexton is a more solidified player in this league with who he is and what you can expect from him each and every night than KPJ. And there is some real talent there with Collin Sexton with playing with pace and speed, and having a change-up player like that, I think, could benefit the Clippers. You watched the game the other night against Memphis where they beat them at their own game playing fast. KPJ is more get into his bag, ISO, anti-analytics to an extent, because of the mid-range shooting. Although he has some ability there, he has to justify the amount of shots he is taking, the type of shots he is taking. Like, did you guys see this chart the other day? I think it was posted on Clippers Reddit. This was about KPJ, and this was basically it's mid-range is for stars is what this chart is called, and it's lowest synergy shot quality on jumpers this season. It tracks that, the shot quality that you're putting up, and he is second when it comes to volume on lowest synergy shot quality jumpers. Kevin Porter Jr. is second in the league. He's behind DeMar DeRozan there, who takes like a ton of those shots. But like the point is, it's not necessarily that they are a bad shot for certain guys. If you're great in the mid-range, teams encourage you to take those shots. There's this perception that analytics tell you to never take a mid-range shot. No, just don't take them if you're bad at them. So like you look at DeMar DeRozan. He's good at the mid-range. He is a mid-range master. Brandon Ingram is on this chart. SGA is on this chart. Kevin Durant is on this chart. Jamal Murray, Paul George, Devin Booker, guys who hit mid-range shots. But so is Kevin Porter Jr., who's not exactly as established as all of these guys. James Harden's on this chart. Luka Doncic, LeBron James. Why is he taking so many of them like he is a star when he's not hitting them? That's the concern. If you guys recognize this chart, I would highly encourage you to check it out and dive into the numbers of what it's telling you. Because I got to say, Kevin Porter Jr. having as high of a usage rating as he does, like he's a star, and taking as many mid-range shots, those low-quality shots, while if you're a star, yes, do them if you're hitting them, and that's what you do. He's not. He's not a star. He's not hitting them. So him being next to those guys is kind of alarming. It's not it's not exactly what you're looking for from a role player. Terry said Sexton was a top 8 pick while KPJ drafted at the end of the first round. David said KPJ is a bargain find at the TJ Maxx discount rack. Yeah, rough around the edges, but we need the scoring. Terry says Sexton would be a great fit. Others are agreeing about Terrence Mann. Keep him. He'll have a better end to the season. What else do we have here? So the other thing that Dopey G said in this comment underneath last night's Collin Sexton show was that Lou Will, was he the defender we wanted? And like comparing him to KPJ or Sexton or whatever, I don't really totally understand what he's going for. But yeah, Lou Will is a liability on defense, and it hurt them at times in the playoffs. So I don't think anyone's discounting that Lou Will, he was, once they got Kawhi and Paul George, Lou Will turned into a guy who's coming off the bench again, a 6-man role. Because he has limitations. And KPJ has limitations. Collin Sexton has some. He's undersized, but he tries on the defensive end, which is kind of what you want from those guys because they don't get hunted as much as long as they're giving the effort. I think some people are selling Collin Sexton a little bit short. Somebody else said, A Fish said, and this might be Yawning Tears, who's in the chat. He said, personally, don't want Sexton over KPJ. Not counting Zoo and Derrick Jones Jr. bigs, KPJ is the second best defender behind Dunn. His last 10 games, he's getting 2 steals per game. KPJ is a better rebounder and gets more assists per 40 minutes than Sexton, who plays with starters more often, which is probably the reason for that. Sexton is a better shooter 100%, but he seems to be who he is, and KPJ looks to be trending up, low salary, and I think it's worth to see how high he goes. Hopefully he learns more from Harden. The low salary point is a fair one. Sexton's making $18 million this year. KPJ is making like $3 million. But this is wild to me. Not counting Ivica Zubac and Derrick Jones Jr., who he says is a big. KPJ is the second best defender behind Dunn. That is, to quote the kids, cap. KPJ is not the second best defender behind Dunn on this team. His evidence is he's averaged 2 steals per game over the last 10 games, KPJ. Guys, equating steals to good defense is one of the most faulty logic NBA low-level argument you could make. If steals equals great defense every time, and sure, for some players it can, but it is not a correlation to great defense, steals. If that's the case, James Harden has led the league in steals before. Is he known as a great defender? Allen Iverson led the league in steals 3 different times. Is he known as a great defender? That doesn't mean anything. Calling KPJ the second best defender behind Dunn, basically behind Zoo, behind DJ, and behind Dunn is what he's saying. KPJ is the next best defender after those guys. He is not a better defender than Terrence Mann and Amir Coffey. He's not close. Like, he had some good possessions against Ja Morant the other night. He also has some miserable possessions where he didn't guard Desmond Bane. Or the game against Minnesota, in Minnesota, where he went under the screen against Anthony Edwards, and let him walk into a three-pointer. Or pretty much the entire fourth quarter last Saturday night in Game 2 against Dallas, where, do you want to know why Grimes was getting all those open shots and had 14 points for the Mavericks in the fourth quarter? Go watch the tape. The amount of mental mistakes and defensive lapses that KPJ had were astounding in that game in the fourth quarter. He has good moments defensively, and he has really bad moments defensively. Moments that Amir Coffey and Terrence Mann do not have that frequently to that degree. He is not a better defender than them. I don't know what my guy Off Fish is saying here, but that is kind of wild to me. Yeah. Steals do not equal great defense. Yachting Tears says, I know you mentioned a couple lapses. It happens. No. They happen a lot with him. I'm telling you, like, it is. I'm not saying he can't be a good defender at times. He definitely is. But the lapses are too frequent to say he's better than Amir and Terrence Mann. He's not a better defender than them right now. He helped off of Grimes. Yeah. Rock said a lot of Grimes' open shots came from guys getting beat and Porter Jr. sinking to help. But I would say he probably shouldn't have helped off. You think? There were some really bad plays in that fourth quarter. Like, this is high-level stuff where you have to be watching off ball, the tape. But like, KPJ, I'm the one who put out the tape of his defensive acumen on Twitter this summer, saying, because a lot of people were saying he's a miserable defender. And I said, no, that's not true. KPJ has defensive potential. I put out a mixtape at Follow Adam A. You can find it. I'm not a hater. I'm the same guy who said I think he could be the starting 2 guard at some point with the Clippers. I'm just telling you, he is not a better defender overall than Amir Coffey or Terrence Mann right now. That's just not true. He has too many defensive, I don't say lapses again, but holes in his game or moments where, yeah, mentally he seems to be checked out. Like, going under the screen against Anthony Edwards, who at that time was shooting like 41% from 3 in that game against Minnesota, killed them. Like, they keep happening. The thing is, the majority of, from what I've seen, from what I've noticed, his defensive miscues have come late in games when teams are giving maximum effort, and he keeps being the guy that gets lost out there defensively. It's not great. Yawning Tears said, I think KPJ is and will learn more advanced defense, but he has the speed and is putting in the effort. Again, going under a screen against guys like Anthony Edwards, that's just not smart defense. That's not, maybe he will learn, but to say that he is, I don't know if Yawning Tears was the one who made this comment. He's the second best defender behind Dunn. is completely wrong and some real, I don't want to say casual, Christmas casual stuff, but that's just not true at all. I had to stamp that out. I'm sorry. He can be better. He can be good defensively. But again, what do I always say with KPJ? On both ends, you don't know what you're getting each and every possession. And that's what concerns me. And those type of mental lapses that he has in fourth quarters in the regular season, guys, that type of stuff will happen in the playoffs constantly with teams scheming for a guy like that. That's what worries me. Someone else said in the comment section, Cameron Nelson on last night's episode about Collin Sexton said, LOL, the KPJ stan, I think he's talking about Rock. That guy has even less self-awareness and analytical skills than Westbrook and Harden stands. That's a little bit harsh. That was, dude, that was not a miscommunication. Like, he gave up. He played Anthony Edwards on that possession. Like, Rock, I'm sorry, man. You're being far too kind. You are being a stan right now for KPJ and trying to explain away every single mistake. Well, his help defense, somebody had to do it. Like, you probably shouldn't have, but somebody had to do it. Or bringing up that Edwards play seemed like miscommunication to not trap with Zubac. Like, you can't give him a three. You can't let him walk into a three. He's shooting well from three. Like, I've watched that play multiple times. I did a film breakdown of that. Check the channel. Like, I don't know what KPJ did for Rock, but he's becoming way too much of a cheerleader. Like, you got to have a little bit more objectivity, my friend. Like, I'm pointing out all the times that I praised him, and I want him to be this player, but he hasn't been. So I have to call him out on stuff, just like I call out anybody else. Did you see the show I did right before Terrence Mann got sent to the bench? I called out T-Man. I was like, he's got to figure it out now. This has been too slow of a start this season. There's no excuse. He wasn't injured. I do the same for every guy. Like, I don't know, man. Yeah, he's got so many bad habits he has to rid himself of, guys. KPJ, I don't know if it's going to happen by the end of this season. No, that was not. I guarantee you, there's another apologist. JBG did not want KPJ to go under a screen against a shooter that shoots 41% from three and burn them with that shot. Zubac was looking at Ant like, what are you doing? Watch the play. Bonesaw said, yeah, Rock, you're looking like Bastion. KL said, Merry Christmas, Clippers fans. All right, we can move on from the conversation from last night. I'm giving you the context. Like, you can keep saying, I've always noticed that people that say, like, well, that was taken out of context all the time. Many times you look at it, it's like, well, what context would that be okay in? I remember Paul George, when he was at the presser with the Philadelphia 76ers when they signed him, and somebody pointed out how he said winning wasn't his top priority anymore. It was playing the right way. And he was like, well, that was taken out of context. Elaborate, please. I think it was put in the proper context. I think we knew exactly what you meant by that. See, Rock can go everywhere else but the actual play that I'm talking about or plays that I'm talking about. He tries to obscure things by saying, well, there's more context. You got to understand there's more context. There's no more context on that play with Anthony Edwards. You can't go under the screen. He was not told to do that. That's not what the coaching staff wanted. That's not what Zoo was looking for on that play. That is him making the wrong basketball play. And you're kind of exposing yourself or telling on yourself as a KPJ apologist if you keep trying to make excuses for every single play he makes. Again, I'm the same guy that put together the video of all his defensive good plays with the Houston Rockets. So telling people that, hey, he's not as bad as you think. So I'm not some KPJ hater. I'm trying to find the truth of the matter with KPJ and how good he is. He's not better than Terrence Mann And Amir Coffey on defense, possession to possession. He's not. All right, we can move on here. So that was last night. If you guys want to check out that show, more Rock making. All right, he said I admitted that wasn't the right read for that play, but you're kind of saying some other stuff here too, Rock. I mean, maybe you don't have the full context of what you're what you're saying. Merry Xmas, Vincent. So I'm going to play some audio for you as we get into the conversation about Kawhi Leonard that I want to talk about today. Santa Claus is coming to town sooner than later. We know he's not playing on Friday. The reasoning for that, and you know what? I should probably play that also for you. Here was Coach Lue in the pregame, and then I'll play Law Murray on with me on the pregame show, Clippers Countdown. But this was the pregame presser where Law Murray asked Coach Lue about Kawhi Leonard and got the latest update about Kawhi. And if I can find the damn video for you, I will play it. Please, God. Law has a lot of posts here at Law Murray, the NU, so I'm having to go back in time to find the question he asked about Kawhi Leonard pregame. All right, I think I'm almost there. Bear with me. Here we go. I'll share it with you guys. I'll be able to hear it too. Appreciate you. Here was Law Murray with Coach Lue pregame before their 110 win over the Memphis Grizzlies Monday night.
In terms of where you're at this week, you got a game, got 3 days off, you got Friday. Like, how do you feel where Kawhi is at the end of this road trip?
He's been doing what he had to do. I've been trying to get closer to playing. He's still not ready yet. He still has some more 5-on-5 that he needs to do before we allow him to get on the court. And we don't want to rush the situation. We want to make sure we're doing right by Kawhi and make sure we're doing the proper things to get him back on the floor where he's closest to 100%. So,
when you observe that for yourself, when you say he's not ready yet, you probably know when he is because you've been with him for.
I mean, he looks good, but he just still has some more boxes he has to check before we let him on the floor. Like 2 or 3, 4, 5-on-5 is not good enough. We got to make sure we're doing the right thing. Make sure we keep stacking these days up, keep stacking these 5-on-5s up, and then we'll go from there.
So 4 5-on-5s not good enough yet. I think that's the main reason he's not playing yet. Still need more 5-on-5s. Don't want to rush it. They want to do right by Kawhi. He does look good. More boxes to check. 4 5-on-5 practices, not enough for him. Stack up the days, stack up the 5-on-5s, and go from there. That is how Coach Lue summarized it. Checking in with the chat here. Ray said, my cousin made a good point. Hard would make the perfect Inglewood Santa. Mechanic said, not sure what Brooklyn plans to do with Simmons, but as a player, is that about as close to plugging as many of whatever holes these theoretical trades are looking for? I don't know if anybody's been watching Ben Simmons recently, but his contract is pretty large, and he's not the same player. So back to the conversation about Kawhi. Now Law Murray comes on with yours truly. After he talked with Coach Lue there, we had him on, maybe it was an hour later on the pregame show, and I pressed him about a couple of the things there and just looking for a little bit more clarity coming off the press conference with Coach Lue. Here was Law Murray of The Athletic joining me on Clippers Countdown, the official pregame show of your Los Angeles Clippers on Monday.
Still no Kawhi Leonard, and you just reported a little bit ago that team sources from The Athletic confirmed that Kawhi will not play Friday versus the Golden State Warriors. But from what we just heard pregame with you talking with Coach Lue, doesn't mean there's a setback or anything like that. They just need more information to come in regarding Kawhi's rehab here?
It's not even more information. They just need him to play basketball on the ramp. This is the ramp-up period. This is all part of the protocol. And, I mean, you just got to look at it as if he's week to week. That's how it's been literally since training camp. And I would even say training camp, it should have been month to month, but, we are going to take this until literally the last days of 2024. So he's definitely not playing Friday night. The next home game won't be until the 4th. I just bring that up just because I know people are going to want to come to Intuit Dome and see him. That's not happening in 2024, maybe 2025. We'll see about the back-to-back next week. San Antonio, New Orleans is on that trip. Not in that order, but it's on that trip. Oklahoma City is on that trip, and we'll see what we get from there.
Do we have any idea, with you talking with Coach Lou earlier, how much more ramp-up is needed from Kawhi Leonard to get to a point where they feel comfortable having him out there?
Here's how much. More. He needs to play basketball. He needs to get more work in, and it's good that process has started. It's just not enough right now, and maybe he can get some more in before Friday. That won't be enough before to help him play. They've got multiple days off before they take off for the Southwest, and maybe that will be enough. But yeah, we're in the point where, is he closer? Yes. Has he had a setback? No. Is he there? No. That's where we're at.
Good information here from La Murray.
So there you go. There was La Murray on with me on Monday night. So not exactly nailing down when Kawhi Leonard is going to be back. As I always say, if Law doesn't know for sure, then nobody can know for sure, because Law's the best in the game, and I really appreciate him. Shout out Law Murray. He's been coming on with me even more frequently this season, and he means a lot, I think, to Clipper Nation in general, because he's very frank and forthright with things, and he is digging and asking the hard questions. So Law's my guy. Shout out Law on Christmas Day. When Kawhi Leonard comes back, we don't know when that's going to be. The Clippers schedule, he brought it up there, the upcoming schedule. The next home game is the 4th after Friday night, where he won't be playing against the Golden State Warriors. So they play Friday night at home against Golden State. Then they're out on the road. They get 2 days off, Saturday, Sunday off. Monday, they're in New Orleans, taking on the Pelicans. It's the front end of a back-to-back. Tuesday, they're taking on the San Antonio Spurs in San Antonio. Then they're in OKC on Thursday. Then they come home. That game on the 4th is a Saturday night game against the Atlanta Hawks. Who knows? I would guess if he needs more 5-on-5 work, maybe he gets one in this week. Maybe he gets another in next week. Maybe Saturday, January 4th is the new date you should be looking at. Maybe they won't bring him back on the road. I would say if he's healthy, if he's 100%, and he's traveling with the team and he's ready to go, that they could use him in those games against the Spurs. Maybe he returns against his former team there, December 31st, so New Year's Eve. Or maybe it's January 2nd in OKC against SGA and the Thunder. Huge game. You could use Kawhi. Maybe it's against the Pelicans. Who knows? But how will Kawhi look when he does return is the question. That's what I'm asking here. That's what I want to examine here in this show. And something Law and I have been talking about is, well, look at his recent history when he first came back from the ACL during the 22-23 season. Missed his entire year, comes back. He's on a minutes restriction to start with. And I was going through some of the numbers there last night. As yes, I could not get away from thinking and talking about the Clippers. Clearly, it's Christmas. Merry Christmas. We're doing Clippers Talk Live here. We're talking about when is Santa Claus coming to town and what is he going to look like? Claus, Klaws. So he plays that first game against the Lakers coming off the ACL. They win 103-97. He hit a big jumper, actually, late in that game over LeBron James. He only plays 21 minutes. He comes off the bench those first two games. He had 14 points in that game, 7 boards, 2 assists in his 21 minutes. Next game is in Phoenix, at home against the Suns. He plays another 21 minutes, 11 points, 6 boards, 2 assists, 2 of 6 shooting. Obviously, he's not looking like himself yet. 2 games in, coming off the ACL when he first returned. This is still October of 2022. Then they go out on the road. They got 2 games in OKC, I believe. He warms up and he felt stiffness in his right knee, the surgically repaired ACL knee. Now he's out for 3 weeks. Now they ramp down. Too much too soon. Whatever, being overly cautious. It's understandable. He's coming off an ACL. They hold him out. His next game is against Detroit on November 17th of 2022. 2 for 8, 25 minutes now, 6 points. Game after that, 2 days later, they're taking on San Antonio at home. 11 points. He plays 22 minutes, 5 of 8 shooting, more efficient out there. 2 days later, he plays again. They're taking on Utah at home. These are all wins, by the way. 3 in a row here. 8 points, 4 of 11 in 23 minutes. What I saw was over the first 8 games when Kawhi Leonard returned in 2022, end of 2022 into the 2023 season from the ACL, his first 8 games, he averaged just 12 points per game on just 11 attempts per game. The minutes were down significantly. And he never really caught a rhythm the first 8 games. Then there was a big game against the Boston Celtics, if you guys remember this, at Crypto. It was December 12th, measuring stick type of game for the Clippers. And this was the first time we saw a glimpse of the real Kawhi Leonard again. Huge game, and they win 113-93 over Boston. He has 25 points on 10 of 12 shooting. He plays 29 minutes as he went from playing 25 minutes, 22, 23, 28, 30, 30, and he plays 29 against Boston. So slowly the minutes have been going up, and he looked great against the Celtics. He looked like Kawhi. It was a game against Tatum and Brown, I believe, were both playing. 25 points in his 29 minutes, and they get a huge victory. Now, all of a sudden, that was the first game where he scored 20 or more. Next game, he gets 19 points in a win against Minnesota. Next game, 31. Next game, 16, 28, 15, 26, 24. He has 6 points to start the new year on January 5th of 2023 against Denver as they got blown out 122-91, and he only played 18 minutes. After that, it was over. It was back to Kawhi Leonard. He averaged 28 points in January of 2023 in that month. He averaged 27 in the month of February. He averaged 25 in March, and then they're heading into the playoffs. He has a 40-point game against New Orleans near the end of the regular season. They lose, but eventually you get into that playoff series. He looks like Pete Kawhi Leonard. He's out playing Kevin Durant the first 2 games, but he tears the meniscus. So the first 8 games coming off the ACL, he didn't look close to himself. You're probably going to have to assume the first 2 weeks to a month, he may not look like himself. But as long as there's no setback, stay with it. Stay the course. Stay hopeful that even though people are going to be making jokes and saying, oh, this is MJ on the Wizards, he doesn't look the same, he's lost 2 full steps, he can't explode. I heard all that stuff when Kawhi was first coming back off the ACL. And then by the time you get to that big game against Boston, game 9, all of a sudden he's now scoring 20 or more consistently. And then within a handful of games after that Boston game, he's back to looking like Kawhi Leonard fully. Each and every night, he's going for, what's the fewest he scored? Like 18 over that stretch where he's averaging 27 points over 2 months. Like, once he hit the gas, once he started to feel like himself, once he gained more confidence, he got back to being Kawhi Leonard very quickly there. It didn't take that long, but it could take a couple weeks. It could take a month. Who knows? That's ACL. There's no structural damage. Remember that. There was no structural damage with the swelling in his knee. Now, if you want to speculate and be like, well, why is it swelling then? What's going on? I don't know. I have questions there too. Is it bone on bone? I don't know. I don't know what's doing it, why it's being tricky. Is it just because he's had complications there? Because now it's not he's coming back from just the ACL like he was in 2022. Now there's been a meniscus in that knee that he's had repaired and the swelling from this past season. It's a lot to manage. I know. But I'm just saying, give it time. Patience, yes, and mental toughness is being a Clipper, says David Hong. Ray said praying for Kawhi's knee. Hip to Clip said 3 winnable games coming up before we play OKC on the 2nd. Hopefully we have Kawhi by then. We'll see. Everything's trending the right way. He looks good. They just want more of a sample of him looking good and playing more 5-on-5 in practice before they put him back out there. That's all I'm getting from what we heard from Coach Lou with Law about. That's it. So that's incredibly positive. I just don't want the expectations to be unrealistic of him to walk into 30 points his first game. He walks into 10 to 12, I'm good with it, based upon history, his track record. Give Kawhi time. This is somebody that is always picks and chooses his spots, when to take over. There's levels to Kawhi. He reaches a different level in the playoffs. Like, there is something to him. Maybe it's subconscious, but he knows how to meet the moment. He's not going to push things or go all gas, no brakes as soon as he comes back. I don't expect that. You shouldn't either, because even when he is healthy, he finds a different level in the playoffs. He finds different levels during the regular season in big games. You get a different version of Kawhi depending on what is needed that night, even when he is fully ready to go. You get a different version of Kawhi depending on what's needed in the fourth quarter. This is somebody that he has different gears he can reach depending on what is needed for the team. And I don't think he's going to be in 5th gear or 6th gear as soon as he comes back, because he needs to start feeling like himself, and that could take a few weeks. And you're just hoping during that time the knee doesn't swell up. That's the biggest thing. So, appreciate you guys. I'm going to eat some breakfast. If you're still talking about if KPJ is the second best defender after Chris Dunn, I don't know how to help you there. Like, we have Terrence Mann in the playoffs for the Clippers, locking up Luka Doncic last season in that first round. He did. Check the matchup data. He held Luka Doncic to 38% shooting. Some of that's team defense too, but there were a ton of one-on-one possessions just between them too. That's how you get that matchup data. He's not a better defender right now than Terrence Mann consistently at all. He's not a better defender than Amir Coffey consistently at all. We gotta be realistic here. We gotta be honest about the conversation. And so when people are saying, well, you don't need Collin Sexton, you got Collin Sexton at home, or you got something that could be better than that in KPJ, he hasn't done the stuff Collin Sexton has done. Maybe he is a better defender than Collin Sexton overall, and he has more upside there. I'm not really making that case, but Collin Sexton brings completely different stuff. Yes, Terrence Mann hasn't been as good so far defensively this season. I acknowledge that. We have a body of work, Yawning Tears, that tells you Terrence Mann can be much better than the way he is played right now. He didn't look like he did in the playoffs all of last season either, but we know he can get to that point. We have plenty of evidence with Terrence Mann. We don't with KPJ. No, Rock, you may be making a different argument than I am. I read the post of what somebody said in the comment section off of the Collin Sexton episode we did last night. And that person said, outside of Zubac's DJ, who he counted as a big because DJ can play bigs, it's kind of weird, Chris Dunn, KPJ is your next best defender. And I would push back heavy against that. I don't care what the numbers say. Like I've seen enough in high leverage moments in fourth quarter so far from KPJ of having too many defensive mistakes out there. Like I worry about that guy in those big moments much more than I worry about somebody like Terrence Mann or Amir Coffey. There's no way you can say not yawning tears. Like I like what's trending now, not living in the past. Terrence Mann just did that against Luka Doncic in a bleeping playoff series in 2024. That's not living in the past like Walter Sobchak in The Big Lebowski or something. Like, come on, man. That is very recent past. You want to live in the last 10 games because you think KPJ averaging 2 steals per game over the last 10 games is more important than years of work from Terrence Mann, who is still in his prime. That's insane. Again, Yawning Tears does not understand apparently that steals do not equal great defense. Steals equal gambling typically, and if you don't get those steals, you're giving up buckets. Allen Iverson led the league in steals 3 times. Not a great defender. James Harden has led the league in steals. Not a great defender. That's just not a good way to analyze. I can't emphasize that enough. You cannot go off of steals per game and say, oh, this guy's a great defender because he gets steals. That is cap. That is absolutely false. And I think I've demonstrated that to anyone who's being reasonable and listening. Wow, hip to clip. Thank you, my guy. Oh, he said, I don't participate in chat much, but I'm always watching. Thanks for all the content, Adam. Merry Christmas and go Clippers. Merry Christmas to everyone. Yawning tears can't stop. Eye test for me is simple, not lapses, but I notice a player's defense. Either I notice it bad, don't notice it average, or notice it good. I've lately noticed it way more for KPJ in a good way. Except, where he gives up that bucket to Desmond Bane in a huge moment in the fourth quarter just the other game. Or, the whole fourth quarter against Dallas just Saturday night. I'm giving you recent examples. Or against Anthony Edwards going under a screen. Like, everybody can have their own eye test stuff, but I'm bringing up actual examples of what is happening. I'm begging you to not say he is the best defender on the team after Dunn, DJ, and Ivica Zubac, but I digress. What's the point? Merry Christmas. I love you all. I love Yawning Tears. Everybody can have their own opinions and thoughts on these things. Some of them seem pretty wild to me and baseless, but that is okay. It's Christmas. Nobody got a timeout on Christmas. I ain't handing out timeouts like Christmas cookies. Everybody, go be with family. Go be with friends. Love y'all. Love this Clippers team. I'm excited for Friday. We'll have a show previewing that game tomorrow. Maybe I'll bring in Big Mike because he's the big Golden State Warriors fan and I'm staying at his house. That could be entertaining. So everybody have a good one. Love you, Yawning Tears. Be good. And yeah, check out, I think Noah Eagle's on the call for one of these NFL games. And definitely be rooting for the Golden State Warriors tonight before we root against them on Friday. Merry